Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. What do we got today, Rick?
We got our late season recap.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
I just wrecked myself with the bubbly.
Dude, I swear, every time we record, you have a bubbly.
It's a trend. Bubbly. If you're watching this, somebody from your marketing department's like, I really like this podcast. It only has a small crowd, but I love it. I love you guys.
I'm just shaking my head.
It's delicious. What can I say? It's better than drinking pounds of soda, which is something that I would do and gain so much weight.
All right, fair. That's fair.
Did you? We didn't even talk about Thanksgiving on the last show, but I kind of just let myself go for the entire week. I went to the doctor's a couple weeks ago. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Just have high blood pressure.
Okay, continue.
So I was like, you know what? I don't have high blood pressure this weekend. I just ate whatever I wanted to.
Yeah. Oh, well, you go back to the doctor's.
I probably have at least, yeah. They said, you got 3 months to figure this out. I'm like, okay, so Christmas, Thanksgiving,
you go, I'm screwed.
New Year's. It's not going to happen, Doc. It's not going to happen.
I feel like you say this literally every year
on
Thanksgiving for the last 6 years. You tell me trying to slow down on eating and stuff with food, and then Thanksgiving happens and you're like, dude, I let myself go this week.
Oh, I totally just zoinked it.
And now from here to New Year's, you're going to be like this. And then right when New Year starts, you're going to be like, hey, new year, new me. And I'm going to start hitting the gym.
I don't do the gym thing because I don't want to run into other people. But I think because of COVID, it might be different this year. Everyone's going to be like, I don't want to work out with a mask.
You would think that, but I'm not sure.
Okay. I don't want to work out with other people. So I wanted to buy a house, buy a weight set, and then just stick it in the basement and work out that way. That's way better than having people stare at you at the gym.
That's true.
I don't want the judgment.
Dude, just put in your headphones and just pretend you're a NFL superstar.
Yeah, I'm lifting 40 pounds on the bench press.
And then it just slips out of your hand. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
Lands on you.
It's gone for me. I'm 27 years old. It's over.
What do you mean it's over? It's never over.
I mean, I'm gonna be gasping for air when we play softball next year.
Well, you do that anyway.
Yeah, that's true. So we got a now that we literally rambled for probably about three and a half minutes. We have an interesting episode today. Earlier this season, we did a recap. Yep. So we're gonna do a late season recap, and then the next couple weeks we're gonna bounce around some ideas and see what we do. I mean, you only got 4 episodes left on Wednesdays.
Yep.
You choose whatever you like. We'll do.
Yeah. What do you want us to do for a Wednesday show?
Literally,
playoff lineups or something.
I have ideas, but I don't have any ideas. So help us out. They're gonna be you're running out of you're running out of ideas, guys.
Well, it's not that. It's just this time of the season.
You try to go on camera and talk about fantasy football for about an hour. What is it? 2 hours a week? Good God.
I mean, it's not that hard. We could talk about fantasy football for hours.
I probably could. Yeah,
we do anyway. We talk about.
I should just at this point we should just turn on the camera and just start talking about.
We could do that
for 4 hours.
Yeah,
our show used to be an hour.
Hour and a half.
That's why people know no one listens.
And it wasn't. There was no direction in it. It was just us screaming at each other about opinions that we have.
Oh yeah, that was totally not about fantasy football. It's just about sports.
Yeah,
we yelled at each other. It
was great, though.
I'm not going to say what
great content.
What the account was. It's still available. I watched it the other day.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe someday we'll finally get a lot of you here on this.
And we'll reveal
this
it.
fantasy football podcast, and then we'll show you what we were before the fantasy champions. But anyway, we're gonna give you a late season recap. We're gonna talk about every single position, break it down, go through all that good stuff. Hopefully, I can find the right tab. Because if I screw that up, it's going to reload, and then I'm going to be sitting here doing what me and Rick were doing before the show, where he was pointing at the sleeper app going, you idiot, just click on this button. Because it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
I feel like it was so funny because growing up, I was like, I'm not going to be like my parents with the computers. And now I'm like, what am I doing?
No, you're still.
Where's the button?
You're still very intelligent when it comes to computers.
It's because
More than the average person.
that's true. But sometimes it's just the little things.
Yeah, the little right, like the.
It took me
You click.
I
on
wanted
the
to
thing.
switch our league to sleeper, and it took me a whole year to figure it out. Not to figure out how to switch to sleeper, but how to use the app.
Yeah, that's kind of rough.
I'm an idiot.
It did take me a little bit though too.
So anyway, we're going to talk about late season recap. Before we do that, check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FFChamps, on Instagram at the Fantasy Champions. You can like us at facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platform, we're on all of them. It's really simple. I know a lot of people listen on Spotify. I don't use Spotify. I use
Really?
Apple Music.
Well, that's because you're a cool kid.
I'm an Apple user. Do you use Spotify?
Yes.
See, I roasted somebody. You roasted a Spotify user. Spotify is such a waste of time when you have Apple Music. Even like if I had an Android, I'd use Google Play.
Dude, why?
Because
Spotify's amazing.
All right. Anyway, we have it on there.
We can debate about that.
we have it on there in case you want to listen to it. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, share this podcast with your friends. Subscribing, best way to help our podcast, our brand, whatever you want. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. We're going to shave Rick's head at the Super Bowl if we get to 1,000. I might even lower it to 500. I just want to shave his head. I might do it anyway. I don't know.
I just show up for the Super Bowl just for fun.
You know, I'm just like...
And you're like, oh, hey, Rick. Hold him down.
It's like the... what's going on? It's like the Grinch.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, please don't not remember that.
Oh, boy.
Dude, low-key hated that movie as a kid, and now I'm like, greatest movie ever. Greatest Christmas. That's the one
I've always enjoyed that movie. Always been a Grinch guy.
It's my favorite. It's my brother's favorite.
It's a good movie.
Be sure to click the bell for notifications, like, and comment down below. We're 8 minutes into this podcast, and we just finished the intro. So this should be an interesting little show. We'll go position by position. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do that.
And we'll just talk about things that stand out to us through 12 weeks. Yeah, let's do it. So, obviously the QB1 right now, and I was going to say a couple weeks ago, I probably already did. Kyler Murray's a league winner, but I'm kind of coming back on that a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
Lamar last year was on, like, he wasn't an elite passer last year, and he still isn't. But he was just running all over the field, and through I think it's the last 8 games of the season, about 65% of his touchdowns were thrown, something like that over that course of the season. He had a lot easier of a schedule at the end of the season. Lamar did last year, and he's the league-winning quarterback that came out of nowhere. Kyler is a different story. He has a very, very tough schedule to end the season here.
Yes,
and I'm very concerned that he can't produce at a level that we expect him to for the playoffs. And I don't think he's going to be bad because his rushing really gives him a good floor. But this week against New England, he did not look good. He had 8 total fantasy points, and he wasn't rushing at all in that game, and he was very gingerly playing towards that shoulder.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's a long-term problem for the season, but he has Los Angeles, he has the Giants, he has Philly, and he has San Francisco. All have been very tough against quarterbacks this season. I'm a little less concerned about the Giants game, but the other 4, I'm like, it's a little bit hairy.
Yeah, no, that schedule is definitely tough, and it's one of the reasons why I still would take him, but I wasn't willing to overpay for him in one of the leagues I was in, trying to get him, just because that playoff schedule is so tough, man. And I know he's the QB1. He's been awesome all year, and I still think he's going to be good, but this week against New England, definitely.
Yeah.
It kind of caught my eye a little bit, and even before then, I was like, he's got New England. What's his end of season schedule again? I just know
Los
it's a bunch of red
Angeles,
games.
Giants, Philly, San Francisco.
Yeah, the Giants and
the
Philly, I think
game
he'll
was
be
a part of
fine.
that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think those 2 he'll be fine, but those other games are just tough, and I still like him a lot. And you know, it's funny. I think I've brought this up on the show. My projections before the year.
Okay, here we go.
For my top players at each position, I had Kyler Murray as finishing as my QB1. So I hope he does good. So I can
I
go
hope
back
he
and
finishes the season good.
say I got that right.
I
but
don't though.
Yeah, I don't. But
I tried to trade for him because I saw that Lamar Jackson. Like, I'm glad I didn't, to be honest with you. But I don't know if it's going to translate. He had 28 points against San Francisco week 1. Sorry. And so I feel like that might carry over for the San Francisco game. But it's so risky. And the question is, a question that we haven't seen for most of the season answered is he matchup proof? Because he's had Washington, Detroit, Carolina, Jets, Dallas, Seattle, Miami, Buffalo, and then Seattle again. It's like all those games he was good. It's like now when you look at him, it's like that one game against San Francisco. Does that make a matchup proof? Does it make you comfortable starting him on a week-to-week basis? I don't know. So I mean, I'm not starting him because he's Kyler.
Right, he's Kyler. If you own Kyler Murray, you're starting him. 100%.
But it does make me nervous that maybe he's more like New England against tough matchups, and then he gets 18 points a game rest of season.
It could just be the shoulder thing, though, too.
It could have been just a shoulder thing. He only ran it 5 times for 31 yards, so compared to his 10 rushes for 106 on a regular basis.
Right. Is there anyone in the top? I mean, there's one guy obvious. That's very obvious. That's like surprises you. Obviously, I think there's one guy.
Tom Brady.
Of course you would say that.
So I clicked on the wrong thing. I would say Justin Herbert.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to say Justin Herbert was the right answer, but I was concerned that you would say that was Brady, so I just threw Brady out there.
Bro,
maybe
there was only one person in this room that didn't think Brady would finish as a top 10 quarterback.
I ranked him top 13.
13th.
Fair enough. He'll be there.
Which isn't awful.
He'll be there.
To be honest,
he'll be there.
You think he's still going to finish 13th?
I think he might finish 10.
That's fair. He has a bye still, but he plays the Lions and the Falcons.
Yeah, I think the bye week bye week will knock him down to 9 or 10.
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, I would say Herbert. Now, I think it's funny because what I was feeling on Kyler Murray, I'm now feeling on Herbert. He didn't have the best week this week, and he has New England next week. But when we're talking about playoff schedules, championships, league winners, I think Herbert's right there. I think his schedule is really easy the end of the season, and I'm kind of pumped to have Herbs.
Yeah, he's so surprising. I don't think anybody would have predicted him to be, I think, QB 8 right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And he's probably going to surpass Brady once Brady gets on his bye, as long as he gets like 15 points next week. So,
yeah.
Justin Herbert is somebody who really surprised the whole fantasy community, and he's fantastic. I owned him in our league, and I think I dropped him. Worst decision of the season, probably.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, you didn't.
It was like week 2. It was like
Yeah.
When he made his first start against the Chiefs, I think.
He also, I was looking up his numbers last week because I was making a trade for him, Josh Allen for Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Is that a bad trade? I feel like it's a horrible trade.
I don't think that's
it
bad.
It sounds like a really bad trade, but I did it anyway. But I did it for the playoff schedule because I had Josh Allen, and Josh Allen's New England in week 16. So, yeah, but I think Justin Herbert over from week 7. So after the bye week, I didn't even include the first 4 weeks. He actually played pretty well. From after the bye week, week 7 to 11, he had a QB1 finish over the course of those games. So he paced out at a QB1 for the entire season. So I think that he could carry that over after the New England game, carry that over to Atlanta, Las Vegas, Denver. I'm probably not going to start him this week in my home league.
That's fair.
Probably not going to happen.
That's fair.
But yeah, so I would find him very, very surprising. I mean, let's see. Josh Allen's QB4.
That's so not crazy. We called that one though. We called that one in the offseason.
We did call that one in the offseason.
Lamar is probably the biggest surprise though.
Russ has started off on fire and he's been disappointed.
Does that every year? Doesn't he do that every year?
Kind of every year.
I remember like 2 or 3 years ago, he was the QB1 through the first like half of the season, and someone in our league who his name starts with F.
Just say it.
Okay, Fred. He traded for Russ, I think, or he got Russ somehow.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, I'm going to win the championship. I got Russ. And then rest of the season, he averaged 15 points a game. And he's like, I'm never owning him again.
Yeah.
But he's kind of doing that this year, too.
Yeah. I think the other thing, I would say the second most surprising was Aaron Rodgers 5.
I did not. I'm not going to lie. I got that one wrong. I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be a bust this year. Not a bust, but
I
not.
thought he was going to be like 12 or I had a Brady,
Yeah.
which I got right.
I had him at like QB 11.
But I had him like QB 12 to Brady's
Yeah.
QB 13. So, it's disappointing that I'm wrong on that, but Aaron Rodgers has been great.
I know. I kind of wish that was the one quarterback that I.
You think he could rival Mahomes for MVP this year? He's been really good.
Yeah. 100% he's going to rival Mahomes for MVP.
Yeah. Let's move on to running backs. I think the most surprising guy so far through 12 weeks is James Robinson. The funniest part about this is I don't think James Robinson is going to be the starting running back next year. I think they're going to draft somebody, and I think they're going to. I hate to say it, but I think they're going to move forward.
I hope not.
Like this is just like this is a bridge year.
It's a 1-year wonder.
Yeah,
type running back.
I really do believe that. Not because I think he blows. I just think that the Jaguars are like they'll bring in another running back, and then they'll tag team it. And James
I don't know
Robinson
if it's going to necessarily be next year, but I could easily see that. Like if he struggles next year, I could easily see them moving on from him because there's no loyalty there as well.
Yeah.
Especially if they bring in a new coaching staff and stuff, which I think they will.
Yeah.
But he's been way better than I thought. He's one guy that we talked about early in the season on trade targets that we don't think he's going to finish top 5. So like it would be a good time to sell him. And I was like, I think he'll finish top 10, but I don't think he'll finish top 3, top 5. And he could legitimately finish in the top 5 at this point. And he most likely will unless he really struggles at the end of the season.
He's been better than Fournette.
Yeah.
You think Fournette would have been just as good or? He's garbage, man. He's not good with the Bucs.
I don't know if he would have been just as good, to be honest.
Yeah.
He would have been good. I think he would have been like a top 12 running back.
Yeah.
But I don't think he would have been as good as James Robinson.
So I think the one thing that I want to point out, the biggest, I saw a tweet about this and I was like, oh, I had to check to make sure. Antonio Gibson is a top 5 running back in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to note, Aaron Jones missed like 3 games.
There's so many running backs that should be
up there.
That
should be up there. But Aaron Jones is averaging 17 fantasy points per game, and then Christian McCaffrey is also averaging like 23. So had those 2 guys been playing the whole season, I don't think Gibson would be. I think Gibson would have been an 8, 9 probably with a healthy group of running backs. But the fact that he's top 5 right now is extremely impressive. And if you had told me the rookie running backs right now would be James Robinson and Antonio Gibson at the beginning of the season, I would not have expected because right now I think Clyde is like the RB14. Is that somewhere around there? So, but Gibson being top 5, that is you're probably, if you're listening to this and you just heard that, you're probably checking your phone like, oh God, is he really top 5? Standard, I'm not sure. But Antonio Gibson, and I'm getting mad now.
Clyde's RB11.
I want him to not perform well for the rest of the season, and the only reason why is because I would like to get him at a low level.
I think his schedule starts to get tough though now. He's had one of the easiest schedules in football.
So I traded Gibson and AJ Brown away, probably my 2 favorite players this year, for Aaron Jones because I needed a running back desperately, and I sent the offer to get the 2 guys back, and then I was like, I saw his schedule, I'm like, never mind. I'll keep Aaron Jones.
You should have just not done that trade until this week.
Yeah, that probably.
Or you might have been able to get someone even better than Aaron Jones.
Yeah, right. But anyway, I'm getting a phone call mid-show. I don't even know who this is.
From California.
Yeah. So, but Gibson being top 5 is absolutely stunning.
It is stunning. And I loved Gibson in the offseason and before the draft, but I never expected him to do what he's doing right now. But again, the amount of running backs that are injured this year that should be in the top, that are not like top 5, top 10.
Yeah.
He definitely would have been pushed back. I'm not even sure if he would have been top 10. He probably would have been like 11 in that range. Yeah, he might have been top 10, but there's just so many guys. Aaron Jones missed time. Zeke, once Dak went down, was not the same player, but he would have finished top 5.
When you watch Antonio Gibson play, though, he's Christian McCaffrey. Like,
Similar.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that in the context that he's like the same player. Or play style wise, he's the same. But how, looking into next year, how Ron Rivera uses that position is very similar.
Yes.
Like literally, Antonio Gibson has 11 rushing touchdowns and how many receiving touchdowns? I can't see it.
I think he's got like 2.
Why do they do this? Yeah,
we're looking at
2 or 3.
Sleeper,
but yeah, he has an insane amount of.
I think it's just rushing touchdowns actually.
Rushing
touchdowns. It's second in the NFL.
It's crazy.
Third in the NFL.
And so I think for me, it's like he's not a guy that's going to be. He almost kind of reminds me a little bit of Alvin Kamara, where like Alvin Kamara, the year he went absolutely bonkers, he only had like 111 rushes.
Yeah,
and all of it was touchdowns.
He's getting still more rushes than I thought he would, though.
Oh yeah, I agree. But I think he's gonna be next year. He's gonna be like Christian McCaffrey. I don't think he's gonna be on the level of what Christian McCaffrey is, but I think he's gonna be top 5 next year. Actual top 5, like 18 to 20 points a game. Way better than what I thought Miles Sanders are gonna be. So I'm gonna go jump off a cliff now.
Wow, you're switching your
alliances. I love Miles Sanders so much, but he's just if he wins a game for me on Monday, I will pee myself.
Yeah, pre-recorded show.
All of it would be. Yeah, pre-recorded show. I would say the one thing I'll say is Zeke. A lot of people are going to be like way down on this offseason. If you're in a dynasty league, I would pay for Zeke, and I hate to say that because don't pay a lot because it's a short term, short term fix for a team who's running for the chip. He was insanely good for the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season with Dak Prescott in the lineup.
He was, yeah.
And then after Dak left, it's clear that he needs Dak because the only thing that people like, they're like Zeke is the guy to stop.
Yes,
and so that's what they're doing. They're locking.
Are you scared at all though the Tony Pollard usage last few games?
I think that's just because they're not in the. See, the problem is Dallas is still in the chase. Like they can still make the playoffs, but I don't think that we'll see this offseason what direction they go because the writing might be on the wall and Zeke might be gone. You know what I mean? They might go to Pollard. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but possibility. We were going through the entire season with Todd Gurley on the Rams last year, and he was kind of not great, and then all of a sudden he ended up on the Falcons. So it's like. It just things can change very quickly for guys, and they just gave him a big contract, so it's like,
right?
I don't know what they're gonna do, but I do like Ezekiel Elliott. If he stays on Dallas, he's gonna get the work. He's gonna be fine. In redraft, I think he might fall out of the top 5, and he might end up in the second round even in some leagues.
I think he'll probably go in the second round, yeah.
But if that's the case, I mean, I'm
all over that every
day.
Fair
for my guy.
Are we willing to wave the white flag and admit defeat on Kenny Drake? Our offseason hot take. It wasn't even a hot take because he was going in the second round, but we were big Kenny Drake guys.
I'll wave the flag.
Dude, it just shows you how weak the running back position is, though, because as bad as Kenny Drake's been this year, he's
up there.
RB 14, I think.
I know,
which is crazy because we really didn't miss because we said that he'd be like a top 10 running back and top 12 running back, and he's like right around there.
This year reminds me a lot of the 2017 running back class overall, not the draft class, because a lot of rookies finished in the top 10 only because of how bad the running back position was. If you look at the numbers from that year, and the only reason why Kamara was the RB2 is because everyone else was just terrible.
Yeah.
So I see similarities this season
with like Gibson and stuff.
And
Robinson.
Right.
But it just shows you how weak the running backs are this year because Nick Chubb has missed 6 games and he's the RB 18 with 6 games missed.
That's why it's so funny. Like when I look at the numbers, like literally, it's just it's crazy. I can't.
Yeah.
Like Clyde shouldn't even be. He's been not great, so he shouldn't even be up there.
No, he shouldn't. McCaffrey. I think Mixon.
Yo, hold up. Is it true that on Sleeper, Clyde was like the RB was the 103? At the
end, at the very end, I think he got up to
stupid.
He got real high.
Let's move on to wide receivers. Rick Hill shredded everyone's souls this week with 51 fantasy points. That obviously threw him way above anywhere.
It ruined my Devontae Adams wide receiver 1 take.
It might not. Tyreek can any given week give 0, so we'll see what happens. But Hill had 51 points. That puts him at wide receiver 1 on the season. And then Devontae Adams, obviously.
You know what's funny, though?
I'll give you... Devontae Adams has been ridiculous.
He missed 2 games.
Hill?
No, Adams. I'm pretty sure he missed 2 games.
And he's the wide receiver, too.
He's wide receiver, too.
Will Fuller was suspended, so his 12 weeks...
Was fantastic this season.
He is the wide receiver 4. Actually, I have a prediction. Allen Robinson is going to leave the Bears, and he's going to go to Houston.
Oh, I don't like that one.
You don't like that? I love that. I'll draft Allen Robinson all day.
For Will Fuller, bro. I own Will Fuller, so
yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. I'm saying for that's why I don't think Will Fuller is a long
For Robinson, that's great though.
Yeah, Robinson, that's fantastic.
Anything is better. Anything is good for Robinson though.
Metcalf for a majority of the season has been a wide receiver.
Very good.
The wide receiver 4, top 5, but he is kind of fallen off a little bit lately. He's up and down, inconsistent. It's a Seattle wide receiver. This is the main reason why I didn't draft him.
You're gonna say all this stuff and then he can get 40 points.
It really is so true.
That's what he does, though.
But he's all over the place. I'm surprised by the target share. That's what the biggest concern was, target share, and the second biggest concern was him being in Seattle. Mm-hmm. Stefan Diggs was the wide receiver 1 for a good chunk of the season.
Still very good.
He had a bad week this week. Kind of fell down a little bit, but he's still been really good. A lot better than people thought. He's had 110 targets on the season.
Wow.
A lot more than we both thought.
Yeah.
You convinced me not to like Diggs.
That was a mistake. I was
like, Diggs, get him. He's going to be great. And then you're like, no, dude, he's not going to be good at all. And I'm like, all right.
I was not a big Diggs.
You softened me a little bit. I'm so mad that you
But you know what? You softened me on Will Fuller, so we're even. Because I really wanted Will Fuller this year, and you were like, dude, Brandon Cooks.
That's even. Yeah,
and I was like, all right. Well.
Yeah. Hopkins has been very much disappointing.
Well, it's weird
recently because he was ranked as
halfway through the season. Everybody who was down on Hopkins in the offseason was making like apologies and stuff, being like, man,
don't make him so early.
And then all of a sudden, he really hasn't.
So the last couple weeks, he is right now currently on sleeper.
Still very good, and I think he's still going to finish as like the wide receiver 5.
In PPR, he is falling down the list. In half PPR, he is 5. We're basing this on PPR right now, but I think for him, he had 22, 16, 18, 7, 22, 8, 19, 4, 22, 7, and 8. And he has Los Angeles, the Giants, Philly, San Francisco, all tough against wide receivers. His easy part of his schedule is gone. And it's going to be tough for Hop to continue this. I really do. Where he was ranked for us is probably where he's going to land. Like, what was he, wide receiver?
I think
7?
he's 6.
7.
6, yeah.
So, it's not really target share. I mean, he's had 103 targets on the year and he has 5 games left, so he still has a shot at 120 targets, but it's not the 160 targets that he was getting in Houston.
Yeah, no, for sure.
How about if his target share was as efficient as it is with the Arizona Cardinals in Houston, he would have been freaking ridiculous.
No, absolutely. How about this year's? We were all talking about, who did we both say? This is the guy that ended up doing it. We both said this year's rookie wide receiver breakout, this year's AJ Brown. We both said in the offseason was going to be Justin Jefferson, and that's who it's been.
Boom. Listen to us next time, folks.
As we mentioned, to not draft.
Stop.
Hey, you hit, you miss.
We'll own it.
I think we hit more than we missed, though. We did.
For the most part.
I think we were like 75. 25.
Can I say I nailed Mike Evans right in the heart?
You nailed Mike Evans.
And also, I just want to say this. I was having such a hard time with the fantasy Twitter because, it is what it is. But they were talking about all offseason how Brady's deep throw percentage in New England was really great and how he doesn't have problems throwing deep passes. Everyone was saying that. And like that should not be a reasoning behind Mike Evans not being good with the deep throw. He is literally, the Buccaneers are the 4th worst team in the NFL throwing it deep.
Especially lately. I
don't want to hear it anymore about that garbage. I've been watching Tom Brady my entire life. There's one man that he throws it deep to on a regular basis, and the guy catches the ball. And that's Randy Moss. That's it.
I was gonna say he used to have a good deep ball.
He used to
in like 2010.
I think he was more in New England. He was more precise with when he used it. Now it's just like Bruce Arians is like, just toss it, just throw it deep, throw it deep like Jameis Winston does, and he's like, ugh, I'm not gonna do that because I don't like it. But it's a wonder. He's still been very good. But anyway, Mike Evans has been very much affected by that. I wanted to check just to give you the actual number of where he is in that PPR. Wide receiver 17, which is exactly where I ranked him.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about tight ends real fast, and then we'll conclude the show.
Sure.
Give me a tight end that you find interesting.
Dude, it's so funny. Robert Tonyan is the tight end for.
To reset the camera.
The tight end's below this year. George Kittle was great when he was healthy.
Wait. Robert Tonyan?
Robert Tonyan is the tight end for.
The wide receiver? Just kidding.
Kind of. I mean, in most years we do say don't draft a tight end early, and this is why. Because if you drafted Mark Andrews this year, even if you drafted like Darren Waller, hasn't been good. George Kittle, although the one guy, and I drafted him in our home league, Travis Kelce.
Career year
for Travis Kelce.
He has 175 fantasy points this year, which is currently the wide receiver 4 overall, if you put him in the wide receiver position.
And, it's in most years, people will say
That's a great draft pick.
It was thank you. I appreciate it. I traded him in week 1.
You idiot.
And then he goes and texts me and says, dude, you just fleeced that guy. You traded really Travis Kelce for Joe Mixon.
I mean, it was at the time, it's a good fleece. You chased the wide receiver 4 for an injured old man running back.
Yep. Biggest regret. Anyway, most years, it is a big advantage to have one of those guys at tight ends. But this year especially is such a massive advantage because in one tight end leagues, in normal leagues, right, you got a flex, tight end, 2 receivers, 2 running backs. It is such a huge advantage to be outscoring your opponent every single week by like 15 points at tight end.
It's true.
This year especially.
I have Hawk, so...
I mean, I got Darren Waller at tight end too, but
yeah,
he gets like 2 points and then 15 and then 2 points and then 20 and then 2 points.
I think one guy that we were kind of lukewarm on in projections is Mark Andrews. We thought Mark Andrews was going to be a bust, and I would say that he has been for the most part, but he's still top 5.
I know he's still a tight end 5, but he has 100 fantasy points on the year, which is like
I know.
So I think I had him ranked as a tight end 5.
It's because he had 20 against Cleveland, 19 against Washington, 14 against Cincinnati, and 18 against Tennessee. The rest of the time, it was 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, 9.
Yeah.
Which is garbage. That's like literally, you have to start him every week, and he's burning your fantasy team while you do it.
Well, I mean, you don't really have many options.
We're talking about this on Wednesday, so he did not play week 12. It's not fair.
He was on the COVID list.
He's going to get like 2.
So he wouldn't play anyway.
He's out. All right. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, it's like he's kind of a lukewarm kind of player at this point.
Yeah, he just hasn't really been great, and he's pretty much exactly where I projected him to be. And even worse, fantasy point wise, but where he finishes at least. I had him as like the tight end 5 or 6. And which is still decent, and considering how bad tight ends this year have been, he's still startable every single week. But he just hasn't been what people expected him to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to call him a bust because that's what we were talking about him as.
Well, people took him in the 3rd round. Like,
no,
that is kind of a bust.
At this point, like, and this is why you don't waste your time on tight ends in the early rounds.
I know, because
it's so hard. I mean, I know. Next year, I'm taking a weird strategy. I'm just gonna draft every Chief so I don't have to play them.
That's what you should have done this year. That's what you should every year.
But no, Travis Kelce. The funny thing is that a lot of people are going to try to draft him next year. And
he's going to go in the 1st round. I was thinking this to myself yesterday. I think he's going to go in the 1st round. Yeah,
he's not going to produce 1st round. I can stake my life on it.
Every year we're on the Travis Kelce anti-Kelce hate. This year I wasn't though. I drafted him.
No, you did. And to be honest with you, if I was in your spot, I might have drafted him as well.
Yeah,
but the only other guy that I can see, unless you have any other tight ends you really want to talk about, is Gronk. Mm-hmm. Didn't expect him to be good. I thought he was going to be garbage.
Yeah, no, Gronk.
He's actually been good for the most part. The target share has kind of been there, and this week he had 6 catches for 106 yards. He looked Gronky-Kongy.
Yeah, he's been better than what I thought. He still hasn't been, like, if you take the whole season into account, and he's got a bye week this week, he still hasn't been.
No,
great, because he's gonna I think some players are gonna surpass him. But he has been a little better than I thought. Font has really disappointed. Not really his fault though.
Yeah. If Drew Lock was there the whole season, maybe. But.
It would have definitely been, because like opening night, I think he had 16 fantasy points. I want to say.
Yep.
And since that game, he really hasn't done much. But it really isn't his fault. The passes, like, have you watched any Broncos games this year?
I haven't cared to.
He gets the ball over. If they throw it to him, it's
How did he even get a fantasy point against New Orleans?
He had the only catch in the game. The only reception.
Legend.
Yeah. So he's honestly like still the second option. in the passing game. Once they just get the situation figured out, whether it's Drew Lock getting himself together or a new quarterback, he's still going to be good. So, like, if you have him in Dynasty, don't panic. He's just for this year. It wasn't the breakout year that we were hoping for.
Yeah, fair enough. Is there any other tight ends you want to talk about?
I think that's really it.
Okay. All right. There's your late season recap. We'll talk about next week whatever we're going to talk about. I haven't decided yet. But thank you for listening. Thank you for lending us your sensitive ears to teach you about fantasy football in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
Don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and
Talk to you Thursday.
TikTok.
Oh.
TikTok. Talk to you Thursday, Fantasy Champions.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter at TheFFChamps.